Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Ray Sutton, and thank you for joining us today for this MFT in 45 minutes webinar. As I say, my name is Ray Sutton. I'm a solutions engineer based out of Perth in Western Australia. And I've been in IT for more than 30 years and worked for over 200 companies from all various sectors of the solution. My skill sets include working in the public and private enterprises and telecommunications industries, and I've got a broad range of skills from design through to architecture, through to business processes, through automation, software, cloud solutions, virtualization solutions, and also network solutions. And my key skills for Fortra, my number one key skill is secure file transfer, and my second one is around automation, and my third is around email protection as well, so phishing and those sort of things as well. Our agenda for today, I'm going to briefly talk to you about Fortra, if for those of you who are not familiar on who we are. And we're going to talk about the context of what we refer to as an MFT, or managed file transfer solution, and some common use cases that we hear. And then we're going to talk about why we need an MFT in this environment, an introduction to GoAnywhere, our flagship MFT solution. I've got a very quick live demo to go through with you, and then we're going to go into a couple of polling questions and then come into our questions and answers session. So about Fortra. We are a global company based out of Minneapolis in Minnesota, in Eden Prairie. And we're close to approaching $1 billion in revenue. We are in 18 countries around the world, as you can see on this map. We have over 3,000 team members within our Fortra system, and we've got 30,000 plus customers in virtually every industry. Now, Fortra is planned or wants to be your cybersecurity ally, and over the last few years, we've been growing organically, both by organically, and by acquisition. And over the last couple of years, you can see just in our acquisition for the 2021 and 2022, where our sort of scope is lying in regards to Fortra. So we are looking at very much into that cybersecurity space. So we have solutions around advanced email security, vulnerability management, cybersecurity and compliance, managed detection responses, pen testing, red teaming, data loss prevention, and also around security awareness and training portfolios as well. So very much focused on security and how we can bring these solutions together in one holistic security profile or security platform for our customers. So the way we divide up, I guess, all of this is into sort of the three main banners really that you can see here. So we have our managed services solutions where, you know, we've got the managed detection and response, our managed data loss prevention, and our managed file integrity monitoring in those managed services space. In our infrastructure protection and data security, you can see we've got our vulnerability management, our offensive security, our email security and anti-phishing solutions, data protection, our digital risk protection systems, and secure file transfer. Now, commonly, we build these platforms for the shared capabilities that they give us. It's around the threat research and intelligence, it's around automation, and it's around the centralized analytics as well. So being able to get a holistic view of all of these areas of your security business. All of our solutions are built for what we call hybrid IT. So whether you're doing on-prem or whether you do it in your own private cloud or your own public cloud, or whether you want the software as a solution, or you want to look at our managed services, we build all of our solutions to manage those capabilities across the whole teams. And today, we're focusing on our secure file transfer system. So in the context of MFT, So I should also have actually said right at the very beginning, if you do have any questions, you should have a question panel that you can pop your questions into. And we've got somebody there adjudicating those questions for you. My apologies. So in the context of MFT and the common use cases, generally what we see is the file exchange types. We see obviously the ones you may be familiar with, the server to server or the server to person or the B2B or B2C type transactions. Generally, these are automated, unattended file transfers. There's basically no human intervention with those. And it's common that we see like the SFTP, FTPS, and HTTPS. Not so common, which is good, is around now FTP. Then, of course, we've got our person-to-person or person-to-server. This is talking about our ad hoc file transfers, where we want to transfer a file from one place to another. We might have some tools to do that. We might have some individual and team collaboration tools. And commonly those channels are, the email, your FTP, again, not really secure, the web-based solutions, and of course our cloud-based services as well. So what do we actually need from our external exchanges? Well, what people are looking for, or what our protocols are looking for, with some of those descriptions in there as well, is a secure and reliable data channel to provide to partners, providers, customers, etc. So very secure, very reliable, always available type solutions. One of the things we obviously would also recommend is around encryption, and it's really it's a no-brainer now that you do need to encrypt everything that goes from your environment, both in transit, as we call it, and encryption at rest as well. So when it receives to the endpoint, it should still be in an encrypted state. And we need to provide access to the cloud storage services. They're becoming very prevalent now. We've all heard of Amazon AWS S3 buckets or Amazon buckets, S3 buckets. We might have heard of the Azure data lakes. We might have Azure service accounts. We might have Google Drive. We might have OneDrive. We might have Dropbox. We might have all of those sort of services as well. And probably the biggest one that we see as Fortra when we're working with customers, at least in the initial, when they're looking at their MFT journey, is we see very much this fundable architecture model. Now, people, when they build these networks, generally will build what we call a DMZ or a demilitarized zone in their environment. And generally what they do is they actually put all of their services inside that DMZ. And so there could be things in there with files, with data involved. There's going to be credentials on there, whether it's people credentials or whether we're talking about certificates. And what they then do is that server can sit inside. So the FTP server in this diagram that you can see here will sit inside your DMZ. And it could even be an SFTP server as well, which is just as vulnerable. And in their private network or in their private side, they interact with this DMZ via scripts to move files from the private network to the DMZ, and then going out to the big bad internet or to your external trading partners over their side as well. Now, this is a common platform we see. The other common platform we see with our enterprise customers is we might see a multitude of these servers in that environment. They might have configured a server per customer or per trading partner, or they might have more valuable partners than others. And we do see this proliferation of data across those SFTP services as well. Internally as well, there's a lot of internal exchanges that's required as well. We're seeing a lot of things around being workflows. So being able to provide a multi-tiered workflow, not just transferring a file. We might want to do something with that file, and then we might want to transfer it to someone else, and so on and so forth. There's a lot more talk about ETL or your transformation and loading of different data. You might want to, say, for example, get a file in from a database or pull information from a database, and you might want to convert that into a CSV record, or you might want to do some work from a CSV record, or an Excel spreadsheet might come in. You might want to query a database. You might want to embellish or add to that information and maybe send it back out as an invoice or as a file. So we're seeing a lot more of that ETL integrations as well. We tend to find REST and SOAP calls around our CRMs are also very popular as well. And of course, we've got our connection to our new ERP systems that are coming into play as well. So a lot of those ones work at the moment, though, are based on those manual tasks and scripting. So they're not really scripted. They're just very manual. They're very ad hoc, and it doesn't tend to work very well from an enterprise perspective. Then, of course, we've got our internal file movement among the different servers, the platforms and application. You know, again, if you imagine a banking application, there'll be a whole series of files that will come into a banking organization, you know, and they've then got to process those files. So whether it's got to go into a mainframe or whether it's got to go to a local system where they might be doing some work with the ATMs or those sort of things, there's a lot of file movements going inside an internal organization. And to be honest, it's regardless of size. If you were to actually take a step back and look at your own internal file transfers, you'll probably see that there's quite a fair bit going on that perhaps you are aware or even not aware of as well. And of course, we're getting this remote locations, these branches or these links of different hotels or stores linking from the head office, where we might have also have connectivity as well. So we need to provide a solution that's going to reduce those costs and make it easier to develop. You know, we want to be able to provide secure transfers, even if they're using insecure connections. Again, this is a common use case that we see inside Fortra, where people will just upload files in clear messaging, and we need to do something to make sure that if there's confidential information in there, we might need to do some checking to make sure that we're not exposing anything. And of course, it needs to be reliable, even if that network connection is bad. So we need to be able to respond with a very reliable network and retries and those sort of things as well. Then, of course, the elephant in the room is that there's always some parts of the business where they want to accelerate large files. They've got a large file of information that they need to transfer between those remote sites. So how can we accelerate those transfers as well? And of course, there's our internal employees or even employees or trading partners who are physical people, if you like, where we're going to need to provide them secure user-to-user file exchange and collaboration. Obviously, we really want them to avoid using non-compliant methods like regular email or cloud storage services like Dropbox or WeTransfer. We really want them to use secure emails or confidential emails to go via a secure email channel. And of course, the security form that we don't get with Dropbox and WeTransfer, we also need to work on as well around encryption in transit, again, encryption at rest. And the big one as well for today's environment really more is how can we avoid the risk of users exchanging files with viruses, with malware, with ransomware, or sensitive or private data, or even certain file types as well. We might not want them to exchange, for example, exes or executable files or ISO files, or we might not want them to have embedded images and those sort of things as well. So how can we remove those sort of images as well? So why an MFT? Well, the top file challenges, as we've just seen today, is the inefficient script-based homegrown file transfer solutions. As I say, most companies will have a mix of these solutions in their environment, and we've even heard people go, we didn't even realize we had an SFTP server until we started looking at what we were doing. And normally it's a project like a cloud migration or those sort of things that comes into play. It's decentralized, so in other words, there's no tracking of that information of who gets sent where and when, what's happened with those. There's the cost of those scripts as well, because what happens if a script breaks? You know, you've got to need somebody to go in and resolve that and fix that as well. And of course, you've got to keep up with those new security requirements and the new business as well that is coming into play as well. And security requirements are obviously very, very key these days. You know, you don't want to be using very old ciphers. You want to be using the latest up-to-date ciphers that you possibly can with any solution, which is a challenge when you're script-based. The lack of visibility on sensitive file exchanges. You know, can your operations team guarantee that a business critical file has been delivered, or even how long it might take? You know, having that technical logging to disperse components, provides limited control on the file transfer operations, making troubleshooting a time-consuming task in the best case scenario. So in other words, if you don't have that information, you can't provide that information, and if it breaks, you can't say how long it will take to resolve, and it could be a critical file that you've been waiting for. And again, our compliance regulations now, obviously, they're not getting any lower. In fact, they're getting more. So we're all familiar with the PCI DSS, the GDPR, and the HIPAA type transactions. But we've also got to be aware of the lack of centralization on those, the auditing capabilities that we're going to need to provide, and we're going to provide those to a lot of these organizations as well to show that we are meeting those audit trails. So the managed file transfer benefits, it's there to protect your sensitive data. We're going to provide an efficient management where we're going to have a single solution for that administration. We're going to be replacing all those scripts with a GUI workflow engine. We've got a robust operational framework with full control and visibility of the file transfer flows, a faster instant resolution, implementation of automatic retries and notifications, which ultimately will lead to less incidents as well. And of course, meet with the compliance. So where we're going to be using the encryption, the auditing capability, and comprehensive reporting are required. Let's now quickly talk about the GoAnywhere MFT. So GoAnywhere MFT is a centralized solution. And the idea is whether we're doing server to server or server to person, we come around this wheel and we provide inside our GoAnywhere managed file transfer, the business intelligence. So for the business operational users, a high level of encryption and security inbuilt, an administration function centrally controlled, automation where we can automate all of those scripts and put them into one key folders and key files. We can provide data translation around EDI and around ETL type transactions, and we can offer our people to people or user to user a whole heap of collaboration tools. So GoAnywhere is the fastest growing solution on the market. It can be deployed on premise, in the cloud, or in a hybrid environment. So it can even go into your public private clouds if needed, or we can host it here at Fortra. And we streamline that secure exchange of data between systems, employees, customers, and trading partners. What you can see at the bottom here is the centralized administration that we have, the automated workflows, so we can get rid of all those custom programs and scripts. And of course, we've got the best secure file transfer around, so for the SFTPs and the services that we want for the connections as well. What we also integrate into our GoAnywhere proposal is ICAP integrations. Now, ICAP is a protocol, and what that means is when files come into your GoAnywhere environment, we can check for viruses, we can check for malware, and any outbound files that you can send out, we can scan for what we call data loss prevention. In other words, we can redact information if it's got PCI or personal PCI information or PII information. We can actually redact that information as the file leaves the premise automatically. So why GoAnywhere? Well, we are the #1 MFT solution, as you can see in that software reviews on the side there. Now, this is actually based on customer feedback. It's not based on sort of vendor-to-vendor type requirements. That came from our Infotech research group, and this is voted for by users. So why do users like us? Well, I'll pick up a few things here. Our ease of use, our centralized console, our automation is a drag and drop interface, making it really easy to use. We've got an active R&D team, so we release 3 to 4 major releases a year, and most, if not all, of the updates are primarily based on the feedback we get from our user base. We highly encourage our users or our customers to tell us how they would like to use GoAnywhere, and we've got a very detailed way that we can interact with those customers, and we take every idea seriously and look at it how it might improve our footprint for GoAnywhere and improve our customers' life as well. We cost less for a lot of comparable features to all of our competitors in the marketplace, and secure. We're very, very secure. We've got the latest ciphers, the latest technology that we can use to provide you a very, very secure environment. I won't go too much detail into this slide, but effectively the way GoAnywhere works is we connect to all of your file services, whether they're a platform such as an SFTP, or whether it's email, whether you're in the cloud, or databases we connect to. We can connect to scripts, we can run programs, we can actually run our ICAP, as we said before, and we offer these services inside the GoAnywhere, so the folder and file monitoring, the encryption, the compression, the ETL, and we've got Active Directory and LDAP single sign-on authentication built into the tool, and also we can provide scheduled services as well. We audit everything that goes through GoAnywhere, so you don't have to worry about your compliance or your auditing capabilities, and provide a good level detail of alerting as well. We have a whole heap of cloud connectors, which allows us to connect out of the box with cloud providers, whether you've got Dropbox or Google Drive or Jira or ServiceNow, we can basically connect automatically to those services as REST and SOAP calls. You can also build your own cloud connectors for your own internal connections that you might have, and they're all easily downloaded from our online marketplace as well. Our GoAnywhere gateway, remember the picture where we've got everything sitting inside the gateway? Well, we replaced that with one system, and that system is the GoAnywhere gateway. Now, the idea of the GoAnywhere gateway is a gatekeeper for your environment. It provides a high level of security, and that means you can move all of that data transfer, the SFTP servers, out of your DMZ and back into your private network where it should be. So the way our actual gateway works is there's a control channel between the GoAnywhere MFT and the gateway. We configure the proxies on the gateway to listen for those new connections. Once somebody connects from the internet across, it makes a connection to the gateway, say for example an SFTP connection. What the gateway does is it sends a notification across that control channel back to the MFT, along with any credentials such as username, password, or certificate, or both, whichever way you want to do your security for your environment. And then what the MFT will do, the GoAnywhere MFT, it will check those credentials, make sure they're correct, and obviously you're allowed in. And then a new data channel is opened from the GoAnywhere MFT to the gateway. And then the external trading partner is connected to that data channel and routes the information back through the MFT. So there's no inbound ports. So if you're familiar with SFTP, port 22 is a proxy that sits on the gateway here. So it actually terminates at the gateway. So you're not actually having any protocols coming inbound to your GoAnywhere. It's all outbound and controlled by the GoAnywhere gateway and the MFT. We have what we call agents, which if you like are mini MFTs, and they can be on any type of platform, whether it's retail, enterprise products. We did ones with a major mining company here, and they've got some of our agents running on their automated trucks, for example, to do their login and management of the file systems that run from those. And basically they do the same thing, as I say, from a mini MFT. They've got a workflow engine, they've got a file transfer capability, they've got the monitoring, and they provide the alerts and audit logs for the agent as well, all back to your central console as well, which you can then look at for the from one central location. So this really answers the question about those remote agents, whether you're deploying them across remote locations, whether you have segmented networks, which is a common platform. We don't know where you've got secure networks that you don't really want to, and you want to manage the file coming in and out, and you want it to be in an encrypted way. Whether you've got hybrid infrastructure, whether you're going from private to public cloud, for example, or you've got in-customer systems where you need to actually have the agent as close to that system as possible. So the MFT and ICAP, as I mentioned, I'm not really going to go through this slide, but basically what it does is you create some policies on your ICAP gateway, and it has the deep content inspection, the adaptive redaction, the threat remediation, the data loss prevention, your regulatory compliance, and your information governance can be controlled by Fortra's ClearSwift, secure ICAP gateway, and we're able to send files and retrieve files through as well. As I say, it goes down to multi-level. So even if you've got them in a zip file, and say, for example, in this example that you can see here, there's an executable file in the zip file, which is not allowed. It won't allow that file to come through because there's an executable in there. Or you can choose what you want to do with that file. You could choose to remove the executable from the zip file should you require to do that. So what exactly is the SIG? Well, the Secure Internet Gateway allows our deep content inspection engine to look for viruses, ransomware, and removing those active code and macros. As I say, there's also file types as well. So on the inbound connection. So when connecting files are coming inbound to GoAnywhere, what they will do is it will send it to the ICAP server to check for any of those things. And if it's allowed, if it's okay, then the file will get transferred. If it's not allowed, you can choose what you need to do. Most cases, you block it, right? You don't really want that virus still to be available to you. On the outbound side of the network, as I say, so you could use it to redact sensitive data, whether it's PII or PCI information, or you can do your document sanitization, so removing the hidden file metadata from those files as well. And lastly, and which ones now we're looking at here is just an architecture diagram. So imagine if you're one of these systems over in the far side here, and you've got your variations of protocols that you want to come into your GoAnywhere via. It will come via your HA or via your gateway, your GoAnywhere gateway, come in once it's been allowed through, of course. It will then go through to your Secure Internet Gateway to be checked, to be validated before it hits to your GoAnywhere MFT, and then they will feed off to your internal systems, whether it's core banking, ERP, or payment systems. That's the kind of high-level view of GoAnywhere that we look at. So we also offer, as I say, the three range of different deployments. So whether we're on-prem, whether we're using private or public cloud deployments in your environment, or whether we've got a SaaS model that we were trying to put together, this deployment is right for you. And what you can see in these green boxes, obviously if it's on-prem, the solution is managed by you. So it could be on a VM, for example, which is common, and you manage the whole infrastructure. You might have private public cloud deployments where it might be managed by AWS or Azure or even Google if you've got GCS, and the application from the virtualization up is managed by you. Or if you're looking at our GoAnywhere or our Fortra SaaS model, then the actual all the way up to the application is looked after by Fortra, and then you're responsible for the workflow, the administration, and obviously the data that flows through that environment. And lastly, as a collaborative platform as well, once we've centralized your MFT, with GoAnywhere, we can offer a lot of tools to both your internal employees as well as external employees as well. We can offer a method of sharing your documents around each one rather than having to email them all the time. Collaborative workspaces. We can create these collaborative workspaces for synchronization of files. So you could have, imagine what you would do with Dropbox, but imagine doing the same thing, but in a collaborative workspace that's very, very secure, that offers both encryption in transit and also when the files are in place, encryption at rest as well. You could also have a very high granular capability where you can actually disseminate what type of access you want to give that employee, whether it's a view only, whether it's to be able to upload files or download files or full access. And lastly is using your MFT for a secure email repository. We have a webmail and Outlook plugin for that as well. So what that means is you use your MFT as a package receiver for those files. So what will happen is the person will say, I want to send this via secure mail. The package will go to the GoAnywhere, or the files will go to the GoAnywhere as a package, and it will send the external recipient a link which can be password protected as well, or multi-factor authenticated too. And basically, they would have to click on the link, enter their password, and then they can consume the file, which means obviously you can know who you sent it to, who's got access to it, etc. The other nice thing about using your secure email in this way is also you can put a life cycle on that file. So you can say, for example, if you're sending it to someone that's absolutely confidential, that they can only download it once. Once it's been downloaded, it's gone. They can't do it again. And the other one you can also put on it is if it's not been picked up after a certain amount of days. So for example, 7 days, it gets removed from the system as well. So it covers a couple of things that Outlook doesn't currently do, for example, where you can't expire a file that you've already sent maybe 6 months ago and it sits on your Outlook Exchange servers forever and a day. So it solves that problem. The other problem that it solves as well, which is an interesting one, which is file size. If you want to send a file size that's bigger than, say, 10 meg, which is a limitation on some Outlook plugins as well, and some Outlook systems, sorry, you can actually use your secure email to allow bigger files because you can put that life cycle around them as well. So let's go into the GoAnywhere live demo now. Excuse me. So what I'm going to demonstrate is a couple of things, really. I'm going to connect my GoAnywhere to file repository. So I've got an on-prem and a cloud solution. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send files from our infrastructure in an automated way using SFTP and HTTPS. And then we're going to look at the enablement of a file with receiving with a secure architecture. So enable that file receiving for each one as well. And I'm just going to go through and walk through some of the collaborative modules that we spoke about as well. This one's not going to be as long as the other parts. It's just going to allow us just to show you the capabilities on there. Okay, let me just now jump to my demo. Okay, so for speed, what you're looking at here, this is the administration console for GoAnywhere. And what I've also got here is a user, okay, a user or portal connector here. I've also got an Amazon S3 bucket, which you can see here, just to show you the cloud connection as well. So what we actually do with GoAnywhere on a 30-second pitch is we would connect to various resources, whether those data resources are, whether we're looking at SFTP servers or network shares or Amazon S3 buckets, etc. We would configure all of the data points here. So my first one is actually using our automation tool. So this use case is I have a customer who uploads to an unencrypted folder or a folder, and I want those files to be automatically encrypted using PGP quickly. Okay, I don't want them to be sitting in clear text. Okay, it's a common use case that we see. What I also want to do is I want to keep this folder empty, okay, because I don't want anything in there because it could be on the outside of a network. It could be in a spot where I don't want it to be, okay? So, and then I want to move those files to an encrypted folder. Okay? What I've also got in my GoAnywhere is a monitor, okay? So I'm monitoring that same folder that you're looking at here, that unencrypted one, which is this guy here. And what it will do is it will automatically kick off a project to then automate those processes. All right, so hopefully you'll be able to see it because it's running every minute. So let me just go into my screen here. Which one? This one here. Yep. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to create some files into this unencrypted folder. Okay. You should now see some files in here. And what we should see in the next minute is those files moving from the unencrypted folder to the encrypted folder. Now, it looks like I've done that too quickly because normally they just disappear and you don't actually see them in time, but the monitor should kick in a few seconds. We should see that kick over in a second or two. There you go. Okay, so those files have run, the project's now run. It's removed those files, as you can see from the unencrypted folder, and it's now put them into the encrypted folder. And you can see they've changed now, and they've got a PGP extension. And if I was to open one of those, let's see if I can open it. Let's highlight it first, that'd be good. Let's use our favorite notepad. You'll see it's encrypted. Okay, it's encrypted information in there now. Okay, so let's have a look at the project that was actually doing this work. So this was the project here. Now, this is a really quick elevator pitch for the actual system as well. And what I've got over here is a series of tasks, which is PGP encrypt in this case. And you literally just drag that across, fill in your details here as to what you want it to do, and then that's it. Okay. If you want to add more to it, I'm just going to remove that so I don't mess up my script. But what you'll then do is you'll say what the files are. So the files are what it's looking for, came from the monitor, where it moved them to, the PGP key I'm using, and the output folders as well, the variables that I'm using for the output folders. And then I'm just removing those files, those initial files from that encrypted directory. And don't save. And then now what I'm going to do is I now need to transfer those PGP files to a secure repository. So I've got another program here, which is just going to create a file list from this encrypted folder that we've just seen. It's going to tell me, it's going to say if there is files, then I want to create a print record for those files just to show me how many files I transferred and what I transferred, just in case a customer asks me. Say, for example, you've got the customer's expecting 10 and you send 9, you know, you've got that information to go, yep, there was only actual 9 files today. We didn't see the 10th one. And then, of course, I'm going to SFTP those across to my SFTP server. If there's no files, I'm just going to print out and say, hey, there was no files collected today. And again, we can work on those as well. All right, so let me just execute this. And it should just now run through. Okay, and it's now finished. So let's have a look at this. This is now the IT guy. Now imagine you're putting your IT hat on now. He's the guy who's running this on a daily basis. And he's got the ability to actually have a look at a log file. Okay, he can see in the log file that it's been uploaded, what files have been uploaded, you know, what conditions have been met, etc. And he's got a full workflow job log for all of those completed jobs that you've just seen. So whether it's come from a monitor, remember we had a monitor job, whether we run it from the administration UI, whether it's come from a secure form or whatever, we can manage those. And it's all documented for them. Okay, let's have a look now at those files. This is my SFTP server I've got a link to here. And you can see these are the files that I've sent today. You can see the 9 that have just gone, and obviously all the other files as well. So that's the end of, very briefly, on use case number 1. Let's do a quick demo for this web portal now. So I'll quickly highlight on here. So our GoDrive is our collaboration tool. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about our GoDrive. Our secure mail folder here, so we can compose and send emails, and you can see I've got expire packaging and all those kind of things as well. Bear in mind there's also an Outlook plugin as well that you can use for this as well. And we've also got another one as well, which is becoming pretty popular, which is our secure forms. Now this is using a form that a customer can fill in to actually provide you some information, you know, whether it's a loading of a file or whatever. And we have a project at the back of these, projects, which allow us to take that information from a form and do work with it as well. Okay, so let me just go into my file system again. I'm just going to go into a simple one. Now, this is just a simple ad hoc file exchange, okay? So what this user can do, for example, is I click on upload here, I can find a file and I can upload that file, okay? I can also drag and drop files as well from here. You know, I can just drag a file into here as well. I've got the ability to drag and drop files. Use case on this one though is this is all good and it's fantastic that I can upload and download files, but this is the integration with the ICAP in play now. But I don't want this user to be able to upload an executable. So let me go into my temp directory here. And I've got a pretty suspicious employee, I have to say, because not only have they got the calculator.exe here, they even tried doing the double headering, you know, where they just put a different heading on it. So Microsoft thinks it's a PDF file. They've even then removed the executable and changed it to a text file. They've also been really naughty and even tried to embed it under a file system as well. So they've really tried to get this calculator.exe, which could be viruses, right? So if I just take it from the basic of the calculator.exe, or I'll do the calculator.txt actually, but remember it is the calculator underneath there. If I open that, what you'll see is it will come up with an error at the bottom. Now, we can change this message, but it will just say to the user, the file upload failed. It won't give them any information as to why it failed, but you can change that should you wish that. I'm just going to clear this box here. So what's that done to GoAnywhere? Let's quickly have a quick look here, just cognizant of time. And if I go into my audit logs, as I say, GoAnywhere audits everything, and I look in my antiviral logs, you can see here that the files that I've transferred, remember my SFTP ones, so all the ones here, have all been virus scanned. These ones that we put into the secure folders, they've also been virus scanned, and then we've got our row calculator.txt. So let me just have a look at this one here. And it says it's been rejected. It's got a big red cross. And the reason why is it's a known executable. Okay, the ClearSwift ICAP gateway knows that this is an executable and it's just not allowed. So that's really just to show you the power. There is so much more we could go through, but we would be here probably till tomorrow afternoon. So on that, I'm just going to pass you back over, and there's going to be a couple of polls that come up on your screen now. Please, if you don't mind filling those in, and we'll set them off to go now. So can we set the first poll, please? Wishbone. Okay, I'm just going to give you guys 15 seconds to fill that poll in. You can see just a few more. Okay, I'm going to close the poll now. And you should see on your screen the results of that poll. And what we can see here is that 35% of people are looking to generate audit reports without having to without difficulty. 25% around want to replace the scripts and home developments, which is pretty common. Centralize all the protocols into one solution. Yep, absolutely. Integrate with our cloud storage, and then the 8% to generate traces for greater control over the systems. Okay, cool. I'm just going to if we can now kick off poll 2, please. Okay, this is really how we can help you today. What can we move on for the next stages here? And I'm just keeping the poll in just for a few seconds. Okay, I'm just going to stop the poll now. And just going to share those results with you. So sharing the results at the moment.
Ray, we don't. We have a couple of questions, but I'm just mindful of the time.
Okay. Let me go back to this one here, and let's have a quick look at the questions that we've got.
Okay, so Saurabh asks, he has quite a few. Can we get reports for user permissions with their respective folder list?
Yes, you can. So what we can actually provide you is a detailed report for which users have used which folders and which ones have been interactive with those. We've got also within our GoAnywhere environment, we've also got the ability to create custom reports to provide that information if you've got to do it on a weekly, monthly basis, or on a monthly basis, for example. And they can be run via a project as well. You can build those out via a project to make it even more customizable and unique.
He's following, is it a PC server, PS service or inbuilt feature?
It's part of it will be, it depends really how deep we want to go. So we do have our own professional services who can help with complex ones. But generally you can build some simple rudimentary reporting for yourself, for capability for yourself. It is quite an ease of use system, but it would depend on your requirements, to be honest.
Yeah, really a lot of good questions. Can we get reports for user permissions with the respective folder list?
Yep, we've done that one. So I see one here. Can we do certificates in GoAnywhere like AWS SEO certificates? Yes, you can. You can actually import and export your entitlement for certificates. So again, it's inbuilt into the system. We have our own key management system where you can import and export those certificates as well. In a future release, we are looking at using more of the key holders for those cloud-based solutions as well, and that's been requested by customers. So we are now looking at that. Our R&D team are working on that as well. So it's going to be enhanced. But at the moment, you can import and export keys as you wish. And I think on that, we've actually gone 1 minute over. So I'll close. Yeah, I'll close the meeting here. And thank you so much for your time. It's very much appreciated. I hope it was informative. And please feel free to fill out the survey, which I'm sure will come after this to help with that. So again, thank you from the team at Fortra, and we wish you a very, very good day.